Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to episode 47, I think. We're nearly at episode 50 of the Robbos Gobcast. I don't think we're doing anything special yet because I haven't really thought of anything for that. But thank you ever so much for joining us again for another episode. Today, we are with Mr. Friday, just me and Mr. Friday. I think that's what it's going to be from now on a Monday for you guys. It's just unless Ryan doesn't have any football. But the easiest time for us to record and is in the morning when he goes and plays. So it's nice just to sit down, just one on one, and talk about the game. And this episode is just about Reading. We will be talking about the Reading versus QPR game, and we will do a little build up to the Norwich game coming this Wednesday at home. I think it's Norwich. I want to say Norwich. I'm sticking with Norwich. I could be wrong. Um,
No.
there we go. So we will be doing that. We're going to go talk about the game, and then we will talk about some of the stats that I found after the game. That's quite interesting that I could go through, and then we'll go from there. But as I would normally say, is please don't forget to go and like, subscribe as well. Go click that bell at the top if you're watching on YouTube to get instant notification when we go live. And don't forget if you're listening on Spotify, SoundCloud, or Apple Podcasts, don't forget you can subscribe or follow or like whatever way they describe it for you, and you will get a notification as soon as one of our podcasts go live for you guys. But yeah, we've been having it. We carry on with the 5 day a week. We will be doing it this week and next week. There might be some that stop because of Christmas and New Year, but we are recording Tuesday. Tuesday night, we are recording our Christmas special, which will be released for you guys Christmas Day. And next week, we are recording our New Year's Day special. I have sent you the link, haven't I? Because you're in it. I
Yeah,
think. Yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
gonna.
yeah. That's cool. I did. I had to remember because I was doing it when I was on the toilet. Not gonna lie. So I sent I sent it across. So we're recording that next week for everyone as well. So we're doing some special for you guys, just have a bit of fun. But there might be some episodes that stop. There might be some that carry on depending on people. But we will get nearer that nearer time. Right. Let's get into it. Let's talk about Reading before the game. How confident were you before the game? Before you knew the team news, before you knew anything, what was your
Mm.
feeling going into it?
Well, obviously, I knew Jao and Mate were out before we'd seen the team.
Mhm.
So I expected Bulldogs and Aluko both to come in. Didn't fill me with the greatest of hope, if I'm honest.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it does kind of. It just highlighted perhaps a bit of a lack of depth in the squad
Mhm.
at the moment, particularly with injuries. So yeah, even before seeing the team, I did think that away from home, with I know it's only 2,000, but with fans, it does make a difference. Yeah, I wasn't feeling totally confident that
Mhm.
that they'd get a result.
So going into the game, this is some stats for you before we talk about the lineup. Royals have only kept one clean sheet of their last six away games on the road since the middle of October. Reading have not won in their last five visits to QPR. The last time we won at QPR was a 3-1 win in February 2014. When the
That when McCleary scored that.
Thunderbolt, wasn't it?
Uh,
Was it? Every time McCleary took to pitch of Gloucester Road, it was a Thunderbolt goal.
mm,
I think he loved that place. Going into the game, Reading made four changes altogether. We knew about Mate coming out. It looked like Semedo coming for him. A Bulldog who come in for Jow. It was Bulldog's first league start since June. When he played. But then also at the same time, Elise, or Elise, as people are now saying, is how you pronounce it. Elise come out for Luco. I want to talk about him a little bit later on because I want to get your opinion on something. For Luco and Estevez for Holmes. When you saw that, the lineup, did that give you a little bit more confidence going into it? Did it go? Oh, okay. Or what was your feeling going into it?
No, I actually felt a little bit more nervous. I was surprised to see Holmes come
Hmm.
out, especially. I think it's a difficult balance, isn't it? Because I think Estevez, he probably offers more than Holmes going forward,
Hmm.
but coming the other way, I would say Holmes offers more. And I thought away from home, there was perhaps a bit bold.
Hmm.
Um, but then I could also see it as well, losing Mate and Zhao, and losing a lot of sort of attacking creating. It was out Courtney creativity. Um, so then, perhaps to strike that balance, then that's a good reason to bring Estevez in. So yeah, that one I was a little bit unsure about. Leaving Olise out, or Elise, that baffled me, to be honest.
I think one of
Ob-
these
ob-
the comments was rested. Um,
yeah, yeah, I get that.
I've also heard, and I'm not saying this is true, but saying there's people that were at the game against Birmingham that said his attitude wasn't good, being subbed off, or the way that he was conducted himself wasn't the greatest. So maybe it was a repercussion for attitude. If you don't show commitment, maybe that might have been. I'm just going by what I saw and what I read.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
no, I've seen people say I saw someone on Twitter yesterday saying that he had a bad attitude, but I mean, come on, we've all been moody teenagers at one
no,
stage of life, haven't we?
I
Jesus.
was an asshole, so I know.
I don't think there's anything to suggest other than that he's a good professional. So
So,
uh,
so one of the things I wanted to say was with Holmes, I think it was rested as well. I think because we've got so many games coming up,
yeah,
I think the issue is we're no matter what the starting lineup he picks, there's always ways that we could do it. Because what I found, the couple of stats about the team yesterday, was the oldest substitute on the bench for Reading was Tene Watson, who's 23. Um, which baffled me. And 8 out of the 9 substitutes for Reading yesterday on the substitute bench were all from the academy. I think the only one was Lewis Gibson, if my memory is correct on that one. It's a good stat to have, but at the same time, it's quite a worrying stat as well, because I think one of the things that I said on the podcast on Friday was Estevez to me is more of a winger than he is a right back, because he loves going forward, but defensively, there's a bit of that niggling nag that he might make a mistake or there might something happen with him. What did you make of that first half? Did Reading play well? What was your take on that first half of the game?
it's terrible. No, from a Reading point of view, it was terrible. QPR they were the better team. They dominated the half. They created the better chances. They looked in control. They looked like they were going to score at any minute. Um, it was it was real sort of balls to the wall for Reading for well, I mean for the majority of the game really. But
Hmm.
I felt particularly in that first half that defensively they didn't look organised defensively. I think they were very fortunate that Liam Moore was on the pitch. I thought he was terrific. There was a couple of times where he made some really important blocks uh, that could have gone anywhere. Raphael made a couple of half decent saves to keep them in it as well. And then you mentioned that did you say that was Baldock's first league start June?
Hmm.
I mean the attacking threat was, and there's just no disrespect to Sam Baldock, but was completely non-existent. They may as well. The shape was weird as well. At some point, like it looked like you had Semedo
Hmm.
and Baldock sort of rotating in the centre forward role. Um, Semedo, I've said before, in my mind, is a defensive midfielder.
Hmm.
Um, not quite sure what he's doing as a sort of a false nine. There was one. They did have one decent half chance, and Ajaria flashed the ball across the box, and it sort of fell just in front of Baldock. And if he was half an inch taller, he might have got a toe on it. But No, I thought they were very fortunate at halftime. I remember thinking at halftime, if they get a point out of this, that'll be a
Yeah.
big
So
result.
the worrying part, I think, of the first half was looks like is the injury to Omar Richards,
Mm,
who come off after 27 minutes for Lewis Gibson. Let's talk about Omar Richards. He's probably been the most, I wouldn't say consistent, but the most improved player in Reading's team. How
mm.
much? I don't think it's going to make a massive difference because it might make a massive difference, but how much of a loss is he going to be to the team?
I think it's going to be a big loss. I think his game has come on leaps and bounds. I'm the first to hold my hands up and say I've been very critical with him in the past. I didn't think he was anything special. I couldn't see, much potential in him. Yeah, this season I've definitely changed my mind. He's always been good going forward.
Hmm.
Um, sort of he's got stacks of pace. He can beat a man. I think he got caught out a few times in the past. I don't think his positioning was always quite right. But this season he seems to have struck a perfect balance. He gets forward at the right times, but he also gets back. He he puts in a tackle, and the only I don't want to say saving grace, but I don't ever wish injuries on anybody. But with the January transfer window coming up and teams looking for left backs, a slight knock to Omar Richards, if it's going to be a few weeks, may actually be in the long run
A blessing.
a saving grace. um, because they don't have any cover for that position. Gibson did okay, but he's not.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how did Gibson do when he was in that
Okay.
position when he come on?
He did all right. I think he's more of a centre back, isn't he?
Hmm.
He doesn't offer that, that sort of pace and skill that Richards offers. He did a job, undoubtedly, but yeah, hopefully he's not out for too long. So I do think it is going to be a big blow. He's been a really sort of crucial part of the way the team has played, and had Jow not been playing so well, possibly would have been a contender for Player of the Season
Hmm.
already. Um,
Hmm.
just given the way he stepped up. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be a blow. But yeah, we don't know how long it's gonna be yet. Hopefully we're
So
talking weeks rather than months.
yeah, so according to Paunovic after the game, he said he will not be back before Christmas.
Mm.
He doesn't expect it to be back before Christmas, which maybe gives a bit of Lewis Gibson a bit more run in the team, get him up to shape, and maybe he might stay in January. He might get recalled back because of the play. We don't know, but at least we have
Yeah.
someone of Gibson that will be able to cover that position. Let's talk the second half. Um, what did you make of Reading after the halftime break? Did you see changes to the style of play at halftime? Did you see that? Did he get into the players to say it, or was it the same sort of thing until the subs come on?
No, I thought it was much the same. It was still flat. Um, Struggled, really struggling to sort of carve out any opportunities. Uh, Again, QPR were on top, created some really good chances. One that, yeah, I think everyone in the stadium and everyone watching thought was in. Really unlucky. I think it was Chair. He hit the post and the ball sort of, it's one of those that goes in slow motion. It sort of
Mhm.
hits the post and then rolls across the goal line. You just think like, oh no. But yeah, thankfully didn't go in. But no, again, there was just a real lack of creativity before Olise came on. I've said this before, as good as Laurent and Rinomota, or Renum Hotter, as the commentator renamed him to yesterday. As good as they are, they're not creative players. They're energetic. They're ball winners. They'll drive up the pitch. They'll get back. They'll put a challenge in. But in terms of picking a pass, and you could really see that there was just that lack of creativity. And Ajaria wasn't really in the game. It's one of those days, and he does have them, to be fair, where he was relatively ineffective. He was trying. You could see he was doing what he always does. Trying to beat a player and pick out a pass, but just wasn't quite happening. And I think up until Olise came on, you just felt like there was no one on the pitch that was going to have that bit of magic, or just see that final ball.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the goal. 89th minute winner. A pass to Johan McIntyre, who I'm now calling him after Johan Cruyff, with that back heel. Beautiful little back heel, nice touch, shot beautifully, world class, bottom left-hand corner. What a goal that was, though, wasn't it? World class. Even the QPR manager said after the game.
I think that's exactly how it was described after the game. It was. It's one of those where you just, as soon as he hit it, you could just see from the trajectory of the ball that it was going in. I have to admit, I thought it was going in the top corner, but I'll settle for the bottom. As long as it goes into one of the corners, I'm not really, not too fussed which one it goes into. Brilliant goal. When McIntyre came on, I cursed it by saying that Ivanovic is going for the draw, which I just assumed that bringing McIntyre on because he came on for
Bulldog.
Exactly.
He shoved McIntyre up front.
So you take your only recognised striker off, you bring a centre half on. To me, that spells go and get the point. Tactical masterclass perhaps to Well, I mean, McIntyre spent most of the time in attacking midfield when he was on the pitch. Brilliant vision, but I think people forget that these guys have played with each other for a long time. Mm-hmm. These guys have been. McIntyre's been in the academy since 8. I think Olise was a bit older when he joined the academy, but
because he was released from Chelsea, if I'm right, and then joined
City at one point. Maybe I'm not sure, but
I can't remember.
Maybe it was Chelsea. Anyway, but these guys have played with each other for a long time. They know each other. They know how each other plays, and you could see that. As McIntyre had, it was great awareness to pick him out. But the finish was just. It's just one of those where, and I said it after the game and got panned for it, which I understand, but I think you just have to enjoy it at this stage. Because the thing when he first came into the team, you could see the first thing I remember noticing was his composure. I just thought, wow, he's so calm on the ball. He didn't look like anything fazed him. My only sort of criticism of him, not a criticism, but obviously he was so young, but I thought he was doing all these, fancy tricks and flicks and fancy touches, but he wasn't impacting on a game. This season, he started to influence games. You've seen he scored his first goal. He started picking out assists. Then he started picking out assists on a regular basis, and you thought, okay, this guy's looking really good. And yesterday he came on at 19 and single-handedly won the game. And you think, okay, now we're looking at a player.
Yeah. So talking of goals and assists, this season he's got 7 assists and 3 goals. He's already been directly involved in 10 goals this season already. Despite that as well, despite him only being on the pitch for 25 minutes, Olise had 50% of the total shots on target in Reading's win. He had 2 out of the 4 shots Reading took out of that game.
Like I said, it's just got to the point now where he is.
Okay, because I'm gonna ask you this question. and there's two parts to this question I want to ask you, and it been playing on my mind for a while, but after his goal, it really did stand out for me. Do you think that for me when I saw Elise score, the way that he celebrated was a bit of a worry. I know Ijaria is very much the same type of character where they don't celebrate. Um, they, but for me, that was a bit of a worry because it was his birthday and he just sort of just didn't give a shit. It maybe is it all the attention? Do you think the attention may be affecting him? Do you think that he thinks he's bigger than where he should be, and this is just a stepping stone for him? Or is he just one of those really cool, calm, collected characters? Or do you think he was that pissed off at being dropped that he turned around to Pownich and go, look, this is what happens when you drop me, and this is what happens when you bring me on? Or do you think it's accumulation of that? There's another question I want to ask you afterwards.
Well,
Is it accumulation of all of it?
to the last point about being annoyed about being dropped, he's come on and scored the winner. So
Yeah.
can't be that annoyed because it's worked. I understand, footballers always want to start games, but you have to go with what your manager says, and it's paid off. I think if Reading had lost the game, then I think that decision would have been questioned a lot more than it was. I don't think. I mean, I certainly haven't seen anything to suggest that he's not bothered. His numbers this season show that he's putting a lot of effort in. Perhaps there is a bit of. It's hard to say, and obviously I've never spoken to him. He's never been put up for an interview, so I've only ever met him. Let's just say hi and bye, sort of in the tunnel and such. I guess there is a possibility that I think when, as a young player, and we do this as football fans, and
we do,
particularly in England, and I do it. I'm as much to blame as anyone. When a young player comes through who shows a bit of potential, they're almost seen as a bragging right, and social media is the worst place for this. And I've seen so many people already, sending messages on Twitter to Birmingham fans, mentioning Juba, and we do this as football fans. We get this young player, and we brag about them, and we write all this stuff, and it's almost putting unnecessary pressure on them. Just let the players develop, but with all the things being said about him, plus he'll be more than aware of the clubs who are interested in him, because there's no way on earth that his agent isn't saying X, Y, and Z are sniffing around. I think it would be hard for him at the moment not to see Reading as a stepping stone.
Which I think at the same time, we Reading fans understand that. Now we know he's going to go on to bigger, better things.
To think that he's going to be at Reading in 3 years' time.
Okay, so question for you is what the second part of the question that I wanted to ask you is: will he be sold in January? Because he's got 18 months left on his contract, if I'm correct, which would mean the opportune time is either to sell him now or do a less of a deal in the summer, because clubs are not going to come in with big money in the summer knowing that he's only got a year left. So do you think Reading will take with the stats that he's doing and with everything and what everyone's saying? We don't know whether because of COVID that is going to be less or whatever, but Jude Bellingham went to Dortmund for 30 million on a lot less numbers than what Olise is doing for Reading at the moment. And with clubs, apparently clubs like Tottenham, Leipzig, I've heard, one of them as well.
Arsenal,
especially with Arsenal as well, with no Ozil, they would definitely slot him in straight away, I think. Do you think Reading will cash in on him to try and balance the books? And then, because what I can see is, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant, so I do apologise for taking up the time, is I can see that there is a foundation now being put in place that there hasn't been under previous managers before. I don't know whether Dye has learned the lessons that he's done before, or he's seen what Paunovic has done and gone, okay, we can build something around him and what he wants to do. Maybe the money that
Yeah.
the 30 million he gets, he can get little players, then build a bigger squad, not too big like we've had before, but we have a bit of depth on the bench. We have a bit of quality in the first 11. Do you think that that's the thinking? Maybe.
I 100% agree with everything you just said. My only fear is that the recruitment at Reading up until this season has been, for lack of a better phrase, piss poor.
Yes. Yes.
And it does worry me. I have no idea on market value of footballers, but let's say for argument's sake that Olise goes for 20 million. It doesn't fill me with confidence that Reading are going to invest that 20 million into the right players.
Because what I've read and what I've seen, I think from Eddie and from other people as well, was the transfers are being dealt with by Dye, but Paunovic is getting a lot more say in the transfers than any other manager we've had before. They apparently trust him, which to me I think is fantastic to hear.
Have to. They're in the top six. They're
So okay, so why do you think Paunovic is getting? If we take, do you think they trusted him? What's made them trust him a lot more than the other managers? Is it because
winning his first 7 games probably helped.
yeah? Do you think that's really helped? If he didn't win that, do you think that they would have gone back to what they'd done before?
100%. If you've seen it before, if a club isn't 100% sure on a manager, they're not going to give him a load of money to spend.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really difficult one, but for me personally, Olise isn't a long-term investment to Reading,
Mm-hmm.
because I just feel it's inevitable that at some point he is going to move on. Short term, absolutely fantastic and a huge asset to the club. Long term, I just still think that even if, and it's a very big if because there is a very long way to go, Reading went up, I just can't see him being here in 2-3 years' time. And on that basis, so then it comes to the question is, okay, do you get as much money as you can for him, or do you keep him, let him do his thing on the pitch, have a big say in Reading season, and then lose him for less? The only saving grace that for me that Reading have, if they do choose to sell it in January, and I'm not comparing the two in any way, shape, or form, but they do still have John Swift to return.
Mm-hmm.
And when John Swift plays well, and I'm not saying he's the same player as Olise, I'm sure Olise will go on to be a far better player than John Swift is. But at this level, at this point in time, when John Swift plays well, he can decide a game.
Mm-hmm.
He, similarly to Olise, he can pick out that pass. He can hit that 25-yard shot. And to me, that's the only reason that I think if they were to sell in January, providing the money was reinvested into the squad, because we saw yesterday, and you said it earlier, that 7 of the 9 or 8 of the 9 on the bench were
8 of the 9, yeah,
players. You had the striker who's I was hoping he'd come on because Bulldog was so terrible, but has never played a professional game. The depth is lacking in the overall squad.
So I want to give you this stat as well, and which I found quite amazing, was the ages of the 10 outfield players, so not excluding Raphael, were this, okay? It was 20, 27, 32, 20, 23, 25, 23, 23, 19, 22 were the ages of all the players. I think you could take that with two things. We've also said as well, we've also been told by Paunovic has said as well that John Swift is back training, but before he plays a game for Reading, he's playing a couple of under 23 games to get his match fitness back. Lucas Jowl looks like he's going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks, and Mate will not be back until 2021, until next year for us.
That could be in three. That could, do you know what I mean? That could be in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it could. I think he's not putting a timeline on it, is he?
Weird phrasing on that one.
Reading have won back-to-back games against QPR for the first time since the 2005-2006 season, as well. I agree with what you've said. Do you think the club will sell him, or do you think, because we know with Dye, he's very strict businessman and he won't sell for selling's sake. He will keep players if the money's not there and not right. Even if the money's there and he doesn't think it's right, he's not going to sell. Do you think that if clubs come in, maybe offer 20, 30 million, maybe he adds a sell-on clause, which I think would be the best thing that Reading could do just for future, just to get a bit of money in the future? Do you think he will sell, or do you think he won't? If you had to put money on it now, would if money come in for release in January, would Reading sell?
I think that Dayongi, you are right, has got a track record of refusing to sell players. He refused to sell Liam Moore and gave him a bigger contract. He refused to sell Yaku Mese and gave him a bigger contract. I can't see Olise signing a contract just because of the types of clubs that have been mentioned, the trajectory that he's on. I think it would take a very big offer for him to commit to Reading. I think he'll have his agent in his ear saying, you're going to end up playing for X, Y, and Z. So on that basis, because of how good he is and how much money they could potentially get for him, if I was to put a bet on it, I would say yes, they would sell. Because like I said, long term, he isn't an investment to Reading. Unless for some miracle he decides he wants to become a one club man. I really can't see that happening. It would be nice, but I can't see it. So I think the smartest business decision is to sell him in January.
Would you invest that money in the January transfer window, or would you wait till the summer, or would you use like the loan system because I know we have Swift, but we know that he's becoming a bit injury prone, a bit like Yedom as well, a bit injury prone. Mm-hmm. Would you maybe, because I think you can have 5 loans overall.
If they sell him in January, they have to recruit in January. And I would like to think that there are people at the club preparing for that eventuality.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think they've already got a list of names of players who.
I presume they have that for every position, wouldn't they? Just in case.
Yeah, you would presume so. You never know with Reading.
No, you don't. Right, let's move on to Norwich. We've got coming up a big game. They're top of the league. They are currently 4 points ahead of Reading. Let's have a look at their previous 6 games. So their previous 6 games we'll go back to November 1st, is they beat Stoke 3-2. They then drew at home with Coventry. They then lost away to Luton. But then they've gone 3 games unbeaten by beating Sheffield Wednesday 2-1, beating Nottingham Forest 2-1, and beating Blackburn yesterday 2-1. They've kept, I think, every player that they had in the Premier League. Not only that, they've actually recruited this summer as well, and got 3 or 4 players in as well. It's going to be a very, very tough game. We all know that. We all know how good they are. How are you seeing this game going? And do you think Reading can win?
Do I think they can win? Yes, because they've shown this season that when they play well, they can get results. Yesterday, they showed that they can be an abomination for 90 minutes and get a result.
Yeah.
Very tough game. Norwich are obviously a very good team. They've kept a lot of the players they had when they were in the Premiership. A very dangerous team. Play very nice football. It's going to be a hard game, and correct me if I'm wrong. Our record against Norwich isn't the best. I just can't. I just can't think of many times in recent history when Reading have beat them. Well, we did beat them in the Premiership, didn't we? I remember. Yeah, it was McCleary that scored. But yeah, tough game.
We also just we recently just drawn with them. Was it last year or the year before, with Reno getting the last minute equaliser at their ground? So Reading's versus Norwich. The history is Reading have won 29 times. Norwich have drawn. We've drawn 19. Norwich have beaten us 29 times. Very even. The last time we beat them was a Boxing Day, 2016. I remember that. My brother was ill when I had to go on my own. 3-1 we beat them on that game. On that day. But then if you look at the last 5 fixtures, it sort of tells you how it's been gone. We lost against them 7-1. We then lost against them 2-1.
They were good. They read him. I remember that one.
Yeah. We then lost against them 3-2. 19th of September 2018, we lost against them 2-1. The last game we played, I think, was that Reno game where he scored the last minute. It was 2-2 was the last time we played him. So the last win was 2016 against them. So it all points to a Reading loss. And I think that helps Reading. Do you not think? Because more pressure is going to be on Norwich to get a win out of this. And there's a lot less pressure on Reading. And we all know when there's less pressure on Reading, they seem to find a way of winning. Look at the start of the season, going 7 games unbeaten, no pressure on them. No one really thought of us and go into stadiums that we never thought would go to and win. What are you expecting out of this game? How are you thinking Reading are going to play? Are they going to shut up shop and hit him on the counter? What are you expecting from this?
Definitely don't think they'll shut up shop. Certainly from home, I think they'll go. They'll go for the win, and rightly so. I think it's just the question of how do you approach the game, because Norwich are a very good team, and if you switch off, if you give the ball away, you can you will be punished.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Olise has to come in 100%. I'm not saying that obviously it works out well bringing him on Saturday, but I think he has to start the game because at the moment he's really the only player that I can think of that makes you feel as a fan, as a journalist, as whatever, that he's going to create, that game-winning, game-changing moment. So definitely has to start. I think Holmes will come back in because I think he offers that defensive stability that I mentioned earlier, which I think will be needed. I don't think Reading are going to have an opportunity to play that sort of free-flowing attacking game. It's a really tough one to call. I wouldn't like to have. I think it's one of those. It's either going to go really well or really badly.
So I'm going to give you another stat. Daniel Farker who is the Norwich City manager, I want to tell you his record against Reading. At the moment, he's played Reading 4 times. He's won 3 and drawn 1. He has never lost against Reading, which just sets up to him to lose. But on the podcast on Friday, when Adam Jones come on, we did a review of the next month, the whole of December and start of beginning of January. We predicted results. And on that podcast, I predicted, and I'm going to stick by it, a 1-1 draw. Ryan predicted a 2-2 draw, and Adam's gone for a 2-1 Norwich win. If you had to put a prediction now, before we know any more coming over the next few days, what do you think the score is going to be?
Oh,
I know.
I'm going to go with my head rather than my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say 2-1 Norwich.
2-1.
It pains me to say.
But yeah, no, that's perfect. So yeah,
I
that's
need
it.
to beat Ryan, so I need to stop.
Yeah.
Just stop saying scores to make people happy. I need to start saying what I actually think is going to happen.
I know. So do you know what the funniest thing is as well? I say this is we do Super 6, and we've got a league in it. Ryan is top, obviously, because he cheats all the time. By a fair, he's got 166 points this season. Second place, who is Adams, only got 150. So he somehow has become. He needs to start doing my lottery numbers. I'm telling you. Start winning. But yes, no, that's it. Thank you ever so much, Courtney, for coming on. You're an absolute diamond. Next week, we will be back. We will be discussing who we got after Norwich. Brentford. I think it's Brentford we got after that. We've got a tough running. Jesus, we got Norwich, Brentford, and then we've got Luton, Swansea away, then Huddersfield away, and then Luton again in the FA Cup. So the next 2 games are very difficult. We've got Brentford, who we're going to Brentford, so that could be a very difficult game, and then we got Norwich. So we will discuss the Brentford game with Mr. Friday, and we will go through it more. But thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining. Please go and give us a like, so more people will be able to see the video. Please go and share. Go and put your opinions across. That would be perfect. And then go and interact with us on Twitter or Instagram. All of our links and everything for all of our social media pages are down below in the description. But thank you ever so much, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.